The first thing I noticed was the silence. I had expected music, candles, and Victoria smiling across our anniversary table. Instead, Victoria sat with a folder beside my untouched plate. Victoria pushed the folder toward me. "Before dinner, I need you to read this." I stared at the papers. "What is this?" "Divorce papers." For a moment, I thought Victoria was joking. "Victoria, it's our anniversary." "I know. You planned this tonight?" Victoria folded both hands on the table. "I planned this because I don't want another year of pretending." My chest tightened. Pretending what? That this marriage still works. I looked at the ring on my finger. Last year, Victoria told me money didn't matter. People change, Ethan. I didn't. That is exactly the problem. I swallowed hard. Is there someone else? Victoria's eyes shifted away for a second. "Ryan, don't turn this into jealousy." I asked a question. Ryan understands my world. I almost laughed. "Your world. My company. My responsibilities. My future. And I don't. You've never understood what it means to carry a company." I kept my voice low. "I supported you when Carter Innovations was nothing. You supported me emotionally. I need more than that now. More money." Victoria looked directly at me. "More ambition." The words hurt more than I expected. I leaned back. "So after everything, I'm suddenly not ambitious enough?" "Ethan, I want freedom. I want wealth. I want a stronger future. You already have all three. Not with this marriage." I looked down at the papers again. "How long have you felt this way?" "Months." "Months?" "Yes." "And you never said anything?" I tried. "No, Victoria." You stopped talking. Victoria's expression hardened. "Because every conversation became an argument." "Then why involve Ryan?" "I didn't involve Ryan. His name keeps coming up. Because Ryan works beside me. And now Ryan understands you better than your husband?" Victoria sighed. "This is exactly why I wanted a clean divorce." "A clean divorce?" "Yes. Sign these papers. Walk away. We can both protect our reputations." I stared at Victoria. "And if I refuse? Then this becomes ugly." "Is that a threat?" "It's a warning." I felt something inside me crack, but I refused to let Victoria see it. "What happens to us?" "There is no us anymore." I closed my eyes briefly. I remembered our first apartment, our cheap couch, and the night Victoria had promised, "If we ever become rich, I hope we stay the same." When I opened my eyes, Victoria was still waiting. "I won't sign tonight." Victoria's voice became colder. "Think carefully." "I am. If you fight me, Ethan, people will ask questions. Investors will ask questions. Your career could suffer." "My career?" "Yes." I almost told Victoria everything. I almost said that Carter Innovations had been bleeding millions for months. I almost said I knew exactly where the money was going. Instead, I asked, "Do you really believe I'm the person holding you back?" Victoria stood. "I believe Carter Innovations belongs to me, and I need to protect what I built." I watched Victoria pick up the folder. "Goodbye, Ethan." "Goodbye, Victoria." The door closed. I remained at the table, staring at the divorce papers. My hands were shaking, but my mind was suddenly clear. Victoria thought Carter Innovations belonged to Victoria. Victoria didn't know that months ago I had discovered the hidden losses. Victoria didn't know I had spent weeks preparing for the possibility that tonight would happen. My phone vibrated. One message. "Claire." I opened it. "The acquisition is ready. Do you still want Carter Innovations?" I stared at the screen. Then I typed 4 words. "Yes. Buy everything." I stood and walked toward the window. "Victoria." I called before the door opened again. Victoria stopped. "One question." Victoria turned around. "Did you ever love me?" For the first time that night, Victoria looked uncertain. "Yes," Victoria whispered. "I did." "Then why does this feel so easy for you?" "It isn't easy." "It looks easy." Victoria looked at the ring on my finger. "I thought you would understand." "I understand more than you think." "What does that mean?" "It means I won't beg." Victoria stared at me. "I never asked you to beg. You asked me to disappear." Victoria opened the door. "I hope someday you understand why I chose this. I hope someday you understand what you gave up." "Victoria." I met Claire in a private office before sunrise. I had barely slept since Victoria left the house, but the pain inside me had changed into something colder. Claire closed the door. Ethan, tell me you didn't change your mind. I didn't. About buying Carter Innovations? About everything. Claire placed a folder on the desk. Then we need to move quickly. I sat down. Before we discuss the acquisition, there's something you need to understand. Claire raised an eyebrow. What? Victoria never knew the truth about Carter Capital. Claire became silent. I own it. You own Carter Capital? Yes. Ethan, Carter Capital is worth hundreds of millions. I know. Victoria has been married to the owner of Carter Capital for years. And Victoria never knew. Claire slowly sat across from me. Why did you hide something this important? Because I wanted Victoria to love me without knowing what I owned. Claire looked at me for several seconds. Did Victoria ever know about your investments in Carter Innovations? Only the small ones I made publicly through separate investment firms. And the rest? I financed Carter Innovations privately years ago. I helped keep the company alive when nobody wanted to take the risk. Claire opened another folder. Then you need to see this. I pulled out the first document. What am I looking at? Payments from Carter Innovations to 3 consulting companies. I frowned. These companies aren't familiar. Because the companies are shells. Who controls them? Ryan. My stomach tightened. Are you certain? I traced the ownership records. I turned another page. How much money? Nearly $18 million. I stared at the number. 18 million. Over 14 months. Victoria knows? Not according to the evidence. I leaned back. So Ryan has been stealing from her company. That's what the records suggest. And Victoria filed for divorce yesterday. Claire nodded. Do you think Ryan pushed Victoria into it? I think Ryan wants control of Carter Innovations. I rubbed my forehead. Victoria trusted Ryan. Victoria trusted Ryan because Ryan made Victoria believe Ethan wasn't ambitious enough. The sentence hurt, but I refused to look away. Show me everything. Claire spread contracts across the desk. Ryan created inflated service agreements. Money left Carter Innovations, passed through shell companies, and eventually reached accounts connected to Ryan. I picked up another document. This signature is Victoria's. Victoria signed the contracts, but the supporting reports were false. So Victoria may have been used. Exactly. I looked toward the window. For months, I thought Victoria simply stopped loving me. Claire's voice softened. Maybe Victoria did fall out of love. But Ryan clearly used that weakness. I clenched my fist. I could destroy Ryan. Claire immediately answered, Don't. Why? Because revenge can make Ethan careless. I've lost my marriage, and Ethan could lose everything else by acting emotionally. My phone rang. Daniel. I answered. Dad. Ethan, Claire told me about the acquisition. Claire told you. I asked Claire to keep me informed. I looked at Claire. Daniel continued. Buying Carter Innovations now could look like revenge. Maybe it is. Then don't buy it. I stayed silent. Daniel's voice became firm. If Ethan buys the company because Ethan wants Victoria to suffer, Ethan will become trapped by anger. I don't want Victoria destroyed. Then what does Ethan want? I want the truth exposed. Then make that the reason for every decision. I looked at the documents again. I'll buy the company. Dayton Insight. Only if every step is legal. Agreed. Protect the evidence. Protect Claire. Protect yourself. I will. The call ended. Claire closed the folder. Then we have a plan. What happens next? Claire looked directly at me. Ryan plans to force Victoria into signing a massive financial agreement. Within 48 hours. I stood. Then we have 48 hours to stop him. Claire nodded. This isn't about revenge anymore. I picked up the evidence. No, it's about making sure Victoria never signs away everything without knowing the truth. Claire opened the door. And Ethan, I looked back. What? Once Victoria learns who owns Carter Capital, nothing will ever be the same. I stared at the divorce papers inside my briefcase. I know, for the first time, I felt ready to face whatever came next. I walked out. This time, I wasn't walking away from Victoria. I was walking toward the truth. I returned home that evening with Claire's evidence still burning in my mind. Victoria was in the living room, staring at her phone. I need to talk to you. Victoria didn't look up. If this is about the divorce, Ethan, there's nothing to discuss. It is about Ryan. Victoria finally looked at me. What about Ryan? I found contracts connected to Ryan. Victoria stood. You went through my company records? I found evidence. You found excuses to accuse Ryan because you can't accept losing me. I'm not accusing anyone without proof. Then stop pretending you understand my business. I placed the copies on the table. Look at these. Victoria glanced down. I've seen contracts before. These companies received millions from Carter Innovations. And Ryan controls them. Victoria's face tightened. That's impossible. Then check the ownership records. I don't need you investigating my company. Victoria, $18 million disappeared. Victoria stepped closer. You are jealous. Jealous? Yes. Ryan is successful, confident, and understands business. I felt the words strike deeper than any insult. Ryan understands business better than me? Ryan understands my world. I supported you when Carter Innovations needed help. You supported me emotionally. Ryan helped me build. I almost told Victoria everything. I almost said, Carter Capital is mine. But I stopped. If I revealed the truth now, Victoria might only stay because of fear, money, or guilt. I needed Victoria to see the truth without my protection. I hope you're certain about Ryan, I said. I am. The doorbell rang. Victoria walked toward the door. Ryan entered without hesitation. Victoria, I brought the documents. Ryan noticed me and smiled. Ethan, still fighting. I looked at Ryan. Still hiding? Victoria stepped between us. Enough. Ryan placed a folder beside Victoria. Everything is ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow for what? I asked. Ryan answered calmly. Victoria's financial agreement. I looked at Victoria. You're signing something tomorrow? Victoria hesitated. It's necessary. Ryan smiled. Trust Victoria's decision. I looked at Ryan. You should accept the divorce, Ryan said. Victoria deserves someone who can keep up. I looked at Victoria. Is that what Victoria believes? Victoria hesitated. I believe our lives are different. Ryan answered before Victoria continued. Exactly. I smiled. Ryan, confidence is easy when nobody checks the numbers. Ryan's smile disappeared. What does that mean? It means truth finds people. Victoria frowned. Ethan, what are you trying to say? Nothing yet. Ryan stared at me. Then stop making threats. I haven't threatened anyone. Good. I picked up my coat. When I speak, Ryan, I will bring documents. I left before anger controlled me. Outside, my phone vibrated. Sophia. Ethan, I need to talk privately. About Ryan? Yes. Tell me. I have emails. What kind of emails? Emails proving Ryan pressured Victoria. My heartbeat quickened. Where are the emails? I copied everything before Ryan could delete anything. Don't send anything yet. Why? Preserve every document. Make multiple copies. Don't tell Ryan. Sophia lowered her voice. Ryan has been manipulating Victoria for months. How long? Since before the divorce. Did Victoria know about the money? I don't think Victoria knew the full truth. Can you prove Ryan controlled those contracts? Yes. The emails connect Ryan directly to the shell companies. I closed my eyes. Thank you, Sophia. Ethan, be careful. Ryan knows someone is investigating. I will. The next morning, I arrived at Carter Innovations before the board meeting. James Wilson approached me. Ethan, several major shareholders are considering selling. Why? Debt. Falling confidence. The scandal rumors. How many shares? Enough to change control. I stared at James. Who is buying? Several investors are waiting. I smiled slightly. Then maybe waiting isn't necessary. James studied my face. What are you planning? I'm looking for an opportunity. James lowered his voice. Ethan, if Carter Capital buys those shares, Ethan Carter could become the new owner of Carter Innovations. My pulse rose. The opportunity one needed had finally arrived. I looked through the glass walls toward Victoria's office. For years, I had stood beside Victoria without revealing who I really was. Now I had one choice. I could save Victoria from Ryan, or I could let Ryan destroy everything. I already knew my answer, but Victoria had no idea what was coming. I signed the final acquisition papers at 7 in the morning. Claire placed the documents in front of me. Ethan, once this is approved, Carter Capital will control the shares. Proceed. Are you sure? I've never been more certain. The purchases moved through 3 legal investment firms. My name stayed hidden behind holding companies until the board meeting. Every transaction was documented, every payment was clean, and every signature was verified. By noon, Ryan was celebrating. I heard Ryan through a conference room door. Carter Innovations is finally stable, Ryan said. The new investors understand my strategy. Victoria answered, Ryan, I need the divorce agreement finished today. Don't worry. Ethan will leave with almost nothing. I stood outside and listened. Claire whispered, Do you want me to stop this? No. Why? Because Ryan still believes Ryan has won. That evening, Victoria sent me the divorce agreement. Victoria wrote, Signed by tomorrow. I replied, I'll attend the shareholder meeting first. The next morning, I entered the emergency boardroom with Claire and James. Ryan looked surprised. Why are Ethan and Claire here? James answered, Ethan was invited as an interested shareholder. Ryan laughed. Ethan isn't important enough to influence this meeting. I took my seat. Ryan stood at the head of the table. We need to discuss the new controlling investor. James opened the legal file. Ryan demanded, Who is behind the acquisition? James answered, The identity will be disclosed now. Victoria sat beside Ryan, holding the divorce agreement. I watched Victoria glance toward me. Ryan said, Reveal the investor. James placed the first document on the table. Carter Capital. Ryan frowned. Who owns Carter Capital? James opened another document. Ethan Carter. The room went silent. Victoria stopped breathing for a moment. Ryan stared at me. No. I remained calm. Ryan pointed toward the documents. This is fraud. James answered. The transactions were reviewed by independent counsel. Ryan shook his head. Ethan couldn't buy these shares. I said I already did. Victoria looked at me. You? Yes. How? I invested through private entities. Ryan slammed a hand against the table. You hid your identity. I protected my privacy. You manipulated the market. No. I pushed another document forward. Every transaction happened legally. Several investments were made years before Victoria and I married. Ryan stared at the pages. You're lying. Claire answered. The dates are verified. Ryan looked at Victoria. Victoria, don't believe this. Victoria whispered, I don't understand. I looked at Victoria. You never asked what I did before our marriage. Victoria's eyes filled with confusion. I thought Ethan was just an investor. I let Victoria believe that. Ryan suddenly stood. This meeting is invalid. James replied, Sit down, Ryan. Ryan shouted, I control the executive contracts. Sophia entered the room carrying a sealed folder. I have something the board needs to see. Ryan froze. Sophia, leave. Sophia placed the folder before James. These are copies of emails, payment records, and contracts connecting Ryan to the shell companies. Ryan's face changed. Those documents are stolen. Sophia answered, I preserved the originals. James opened the first file. Ryan authorized payments without proper approval. Claire added, the payments total $18 million. Victoria looked at Ryan. Ryan, tell me this isn't true. Ryan stepped backward. Victoria, I can explain. You told me those companies were legitimate. They were. James interrupted. The ownership records say otherwise. I watched Ryan's confidence collapse. Ryan looked at me. You planned this. I prepared for the truth. You wanted revenge. I wanted justice. Ryan laughed bitterly. You think you could take everything from me? I answered quietly. No, your choices are doing that. The board voted immediately to suspend Ryan pending investigation. Victoria remained silent. I gathered my documents. As everyone left, Victoria stayed behind. Victoria approached me slowly. I don't recognize this Ethan. You never tried to. Victoria looked at the acquisition papers. You own my company now. I own the controlling shares. Victoria swallowed hard. Then Victoria asked quietly, How long have you known everything? I looked into Victoria's eyes. Long enough to know that I should have told you the truth. Victoria waited for another answer. I gave Victoria one, but not long enough to stop loving you. Victoria looked away, and I realized the acquisition had changed everything between us, but could never repair what betrayal had broken. I stayed in the boardroom after everyone left. Victoria remained across the table, staring at the documents that had changed everything. Ethan, please don't leave. I'm still here. I need you to understand. I've been trying to understand for months. Victoria lowered her eyes. Ryan told me Ethan was holding me back. I felt my chest tighten. Ryan told you that? Yes. What else did Ryan tell you? Ryan said Ethan was secretly using my success. Ryan said Carter Innovations would grow faster without Ethan. And Victoria believed Ryan? I wanted to believe Ryan. Why? Because I was afraid. Victoria's voice cracked. I thought Ethan would eventually become more successful than me, and I couldn't handle feeling small beside my own husband. I shook my head. Victoria, I never wanted to compete with you. I know that now. Now. Yes. Now that everything is gone. I remembered the man I had been before the divorce papers arrived. I had spent days asking what I had done wrong, searching every conversation for a mistake. Now I knew some wounds could not be repaired by explaining them. I could not force Victoria to choose me, and I could not rewrite the choices Ryan had made. I could only choose what kind of man I would become after betrayal. That choice finally felt like mine. I would not become cruel because cruelty had touched my life. I would leave the past behind without pretending it never mattered. Ryan suddenly entered the room. Victoria, stop blaming me. I turned toward Ryan. Ryan, the evidence already answered everything. Ryan pointed at Victoria. Victoria signed the contracts. Victoria stared at Ryan. You told me the contracts were safe. I gave you options. You gave me lies. Ryan's face hardened. You wanted control. I only gave you what you asked for. James entered with 2 board members. Ryan, the board has voted. Ryan looked at James. Voted on what? Your suspension. You can't do this. James placed the resolution on the table. Carter Innovations will also begin legal action regarding the financial transfers. Ryan looked at me. Ethan, you can stop this. No. You have everything now. I have evidence. You can destroy me. I won't need to. Ryan's voice became desperate. Please. I looked at Ryan and felt no satisfaction. Months ago, I had imagined this moment. I had imagined Ryan begging while I smiled. Instead, I felt tired. James escorted Ryan from the room. Victoria remained beside me. What happens to me? Victoria asked. You keep your personal assets. Why? Because Ryan's fraud isn't your punishment. But I signed those contracts. You signed documents Ryan manipulated. I still made the decisions. Yes. Victoria looked at me. Then why protect me? Because I loved you. Victoria began crying. I don't deserve that. Maybe not. Can Ethan ever forgive me? I took a slow breath. Maybe someday. Victoria looked hopeful for 1 second. Then I continued. But trust won't return. Victoria nodded through tears. I understand. I don't think Victoria does. Then tell me. You chose Ryan when I was still standing beside you. I was confused. You were. I was scared. I know. I thought Ethan wasn't enough. That hurt more than the divorce. Victoria covered her face. I am sorry. I looked away. I believe you. Victoria slowly lowered her hands. Does that mean there's still a chance? No. The answer hurt me too, but it was honest. Victoria nodded. I understand. I gathered the remaining documents. Victoria stopped me. I have something for you. Victoria pulled a sealed envelope from a drawer. What is it? A letter. Why didn't Victoria give it to me before? Because I wasn't ready for Ethan to read it. I took the envelope. Victoria whispered. Read this only after the divorce is final. I looked at the envelope, then back at Victoria. What does it say? Everything I was too afraid to say. I slipped the letter into my coat. Goodbye, Victoria. Goodbye, Ethan. I walked out without looking back. For the first time, I understood something revenge could never teach me. I didn't need Victoria to suffer for me to heal. I only needed to stop carrying Victoria's choices as if they were my failure. Outside, I breathed deeply. The company was mine. The future was mine. But for the first time, I wanted neither power nor revenge. I wanted peace. I signed the divorce papers on a quiet Monday morning. Victoria sat across from me in the lawyer's office. The papers lay between us, but for once, I didn't feel the need to fight. Are you sure? Victoria asked. Yes. You're not going to demand anything? No. Not the house. No. Not compensation. No. Victoria looked confused. Why? Because I don't want revenge anymore. The lawyer waited while I signed the final page. Victoria whispered, I thought Ethan would try to destroy me. I wanted it once. What changed? I realized destroying Victoria wouldn't rebuild me. The divorce became official before noon. I walked outside carrying nothing except my briefcase and the sealed letter Victoria had given me. That evening, I finally opened it. The first line made me stop. I was afraid. I read slowly. Victoria wrote about growing up believing that money was the only protection against helplessness. Victoria feared poverty, failure, and dependence. Success had become armor, and Carter Innovations had become proof that Victoria could never be powerless again. I lowered the letter. So that's what this was. Victoria had never simply wanted wealth. Victoria had been terrified of losing control. The letter continued. I confused love with security. I thought Ethan was becoming another risk I needed to remove. I closed my eyes. I understood the fear. I didn't excuse the betrayal. Those were two different things. I kept reading until final page. Victoria wrote, I don't expect forgiveness. I only hope Ethan understands that my fear was never caused by Ethan's weakness. My fear came from believing that losing control meant losing everything. I read that sentence. For the first time, I stopped asking why Victoria had chosen someone else. I understood that people run from love when love makes them vulnerable. I could understand that without returning. Months passed. Carter Innovations survived under new leadership. James helped rebuild the board, while Ryan faced the legal consequences of the financial scheme. Carter Capital became stronger, but I stopped measuring my life by numbers. One afternoon, Daniel visited my office. You look different, Daniel said. I feel different. Did buying Carter Innovations make Ethan happy? No. Daniel smiled. Good answer. I laughed quietly. Daniel continued. Winning a company means nothing if Ethan loses himself in the process. I almost did, but Ethan didn't. I wanted Victoria to regret everything. Did Victoria? Yes. And did that make Ethan happy? I thought about it. No. Daniel nodded. Then Ethan learned the lesson. I think I did. Months later, I returned to the restaurant where Victoria and I had celebrated our first anniversary. The same table was near the window. I sat down alone. For years, I had remembered that night as proof that love could survive anything. Now I remembered it differently. Love could survive hardship. Love could not survive dishonesty forever. I was finishing coffee when I heard a familiar voice. Ethan. I turned. Victoria stood several steps away. Victoria, may I sit? I nodded. Victoria sat across from me. I didn't come to ask for another chance. Thank you. I only wanted to apologize. I accept. Victoria looked surprised. That's all. That's enough. I hurt Ethan badly. Yes. I blamed Ethan for fears that belonged to me. Yes. I chose success over trust. Yes. Victoria looked down. I'm sorry. I took a slow breath. I forgive Victoria. Victoria's eyes became wet. But forgiveness doesn't mean returning. I know. We sat quietly. Finally, Victoria stood. I hope Ethan finds happiness. I hope Victoria does too. Victoria walked toward the door. Goodbye, Ethan. Goodbye, Victoria. I watched the door close. For a moment, the old pain returned. Then it faded. I finished my coffee and stood. Outside, the evening air felt lighter than I remembered. I thought about the company, the divorce, the betrayal, and the man I had almost become. I had gained control of Carter Innovations, but that wasn't my victory. My victory was refusing to become cruel. My victory was choosing peace when revenge was easier. I walked down the street without looking back. For the first time, walking away didn't feel like losing. It felt like freedom. And as I kept walking, I finally understood that my life had never belonged to Victoria, Ryan, or the Carter Innovations. My life belonged to me. I smiled. For the first time in years, I was ready to live it.